do we do this all day?
Stay down.
Welcome into Comic-Cast Vid. This is our second video of our channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. And you can always follow us on Twitter. And I think I'm at my name.
I'm at producer Mike 975.
And today we are going to be talking movie changes. And Tenet's trailer came out last week, and Godzilla vs. Kong has been moved. And we're seeing this domino effect of COVID moving all these movies back. And I think Christopher Nolan and Tenet, they're going to be waiting just up until they have to change the movie date, because I think Christopher Nolan wants to keep that movie date in July. And most likely what it's going to happen is that movie date for Tenet is going to get moved. Godzilla vs. Kong is already moved, and now everything's kind of getting funneled into these fall dates, and now some of these fall movies are going to be getting pushed into 2021, which in turn pushes all the 2021 movies further down the line, and it's just creating this cluster of all this stuff happening. What is your take on all of this thing, everything just getting pushed back?
It sucks. I wanted to see Godzilla punch Kong or vice versa, and if I don't get that this year, I'm very disappointed. Obviously, Tenet's like the big one that we need to see where that one falls in terms of getting delayed or whatnot, because that's the first domino. If that domino falls, then you see Wonder Woman. Then you see, well, Kong versus Godzilla may already be delayed, but Wonder Woman gets pushed. Dune gets pushed. We already saw the Matrix 4 is pushed, but that's more because of production. They haven't been able to continue production on that. So it sucks because we're going to get delayed on some of these awesome movies. And then on top of that, even if they do stay on their release dates, do you want to go to the theater? Do you want to go right now? I don't know that a lot of people do. You talked about it on the podcast. You don't know that a lot of people do.
Yeah. If Tenet opens in July, it would have to take perfect situations and scenarios for me to go out there. Not perfect, but we kind of have to sit back and try to see what movie theaters are going to be doing, how they're going to be cleaning their seats, what the capacity is going to be like. I think people are going to go to movie theaters more than what I think a lot of people think. I think people get stir crazy, want to go do things. Bars are reopening. People are going to go out to bars and want to hang out and get back to some sort of normalcy. And I think the movie theaters reopening, I think people are going to be doing the same thing. If it's 25% or 50% capacity, I think we get to those numbers. We get to a full 25% or full 50%, whatever the numbers are going to be. Movie theaters, I think, are going to get pretty packed. And with Tenet, the report is if 80% of the world's movie theaters don't reopen, then Tenet gets pushed back 4 weeks. And that pushes, like I said, pushes everything else back. Godzilla vs. Kong is scheduled to release in November 20th, but Tenet getting pushed will push other movies back. Godzilla vs. Kong will get pushed back from November to May 2021, which will push Matrix back, and it will push everything back. And realistically, if all of that stuff gets pushed back, Wonder Woman might get pushed back into 2021, which is crazy. That you said it on the podcast, that was originally slated for November of 2019. And now we might get a year and a half removed from that date, more than a year and a half removed from that date, for it to be released in maybe May of 2021, which is crazy. It's mind-boggling.
It's extremely mind-boggling what we're in now. And then just going back to Godzilla versus Kong for a second, that movie, it's funny. I wondered when the initial story of Tenet maybe being moved to August to take Wonder Woman's date, And then if that was the case, then Wonder Woman moves to December. I was like, well, where does Godzilla versus Kong fit into this? Because that's Warner Brothers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't snap to me then, but it snapped afterwards that, oh yeah, there was a bunch of movies that are moved to November. So maybe they're just trying to give Kong versus Godzilla a chance, because you do have Black Widow, you do have Pixar's Soul, you do have the new James Bond movie. You have so many movies already pushed to November that maybe you give it time to actually have a decent run. I mean, it was already pushed once. It was supposed to come out back in March, and it got pushed way before the COVID stuff. I think it was more production stuff at that point. But, you know, I mean, maybe it's the best for that movie in particular to move just so it has more breathing room in terms of what it's being released around. But if we do have Tenet move to August, then yeah, tons of dominoes fall. Wonder Woman 1984. It's amazing. We may not get that movie until December, or like you said, possibly 2021. It's just crazy times, man, that we live.
Yeah, and then Dune gets pushed into 2021. And when we get into 2021, some of the bigger movies in 2021, Shang-Chi might get moved out of that May date if everything starts getting pushed back, and Matrix gets moved back. And even with Matrix, they were in the middle of shooting, and that got halted in the middle of March, I believe. And they're supposed to be resuming in a few months here in July, maybe in like a month, and maybe in like 6 weeks or so. So yeah, I mean that's probably with post and finishing shooting, that's gonna probably get moved back to maybe fall of 2021. So all of this it's ongoing, it's fluid, and we'll see where Tenet kind of lies in the next couple of weeks. And it's crazy that one movie. I mean, it's a big movie. It's a huge blockbuster, and how one single move can take a bunch of movies away from their spots and just move them down a few months. And you do that, it's a domino effect. You get one moved, and then a bunch of movies get moved. Not even like, and it's not like a 3 month process. It's more of a maybe a year process where everything just gets pushed back, pushed and pushed back. And you don't want blockbusters in the same release dates and in the same release windows within the next. You don't want movies released. You don't want Tenet, and you don't want Godzilla versus Kong, whatever it is, within 2 weeks of each other. Any
Yeah.
movie like Black Widow and Wonder Woman, you don't want those two movies so close to each other that it's gonna eat into each other's box office.
It's like a big puzzle, because you don't want, like, if you move Tenet, you don't want it to cannibalize your audiences that you already had for Wonder Woman. So you got to move Wonder Woman. But if you move Wonder Woman, then it's like, oh, we got to move Dune. Dune and Wonder Woman probably are playing to the same type of audience. So it's like there's all these like little layers to it. And then if I move Dune, do I move it to early 2021, or do I save it for the summer, because it's probably going to get a bigger push in the summer? But do I hold on to a movie that long? Like, there's a lot of factors here that you have to take into consideration when you're shifting everything.
This is a very fluid situation, and we'll see how everything goes and turns out. Thank you guys for tuning into our second video of our YouTube channel. You can follow our podcast on every major podcast platform. It's ComicCast, and you can find us on iTunes and Spotify and every other podcast platform.
Yeah, do it. Do it now.
And we dive much deeper into these release dates. We talk about, the Tenet trailer. Actually, talk about the trailer and some of the synopsis for Tenet, which is a little confusing.
Just a little.
But if you guys want to check that out, check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, every podcast platform. You can always follow us on Twitter. I'm at my name Jong.
I'm at Producer Mike 975.
Until next time.
Slap that bell.
Ding ding ding.